Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 18 Summer Show. We are your hosts, Jim
and Jamie Shields. We're here to help you bring family back.
In the last decade, we've helped thousands of families create the family life that you have always wanted.
We give you simple solutions on how you can ignite your family life and succeed in both business and at home.
And please remember, time is of the essence. You only have 18 summers to truly connect with your children.
So let us help you make the most of it. Hello, 18 Summers Tribe. Jamie Shields here with our friend, Dr. Danielle Daniel. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks. Dr. Danielle Daniel is a doctor of psychology and licensed clinical social worker with a holistic approach to the brain. Using the science of nature, her expertise focus on the neurolimbic pathways, neurocardiology, and psychogastroenterology. So many of you I know have heard that the gut is your second brain. It definitely works in conjunction with the whole of your body for immediate and sustained emotional well-being. She trains hospitals, clinics, and therapists around the world on the field of psychoaromatherapy and the application of psychoaromatherapy. I'm super excited to talk with you today because that's two of my favorite things, aromatherapy and psychology. So thanks so much for being here and sharing with our tribe.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and meet you guys and participate. I love aromatherapy too, and of course, mental health. So it was exciting for me to really put them together for the professional field.
Can you tell me what really got you interested in, or even sparked the idea that those two things could go together?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm from San Diego, California, and growing up, my mom used to use aromatherapy with us. And when I got into my mental health career, I have my master's and now a doctorate in clinical psychology. And I noticed that I wanted something like a holistic approach to help my kiddos. I work with teens and trauma, and I wanted something. And so I started bringing in a diffuser with the essential oils. And I noticed that my kiddos, my teenagers, which those of you who have teenagers, it's hard to get them to do anything, but they were loving the aromatherapy. And in fact, there were moments where I had forgotten to turn on the diffuser with the oil, and they're like, "Hey, why isn't your thingy on over there?" And they noticed and said something about it. But I noticed for me, it was those kiddos with depression that they would just feel a little bit more uplifted, and we could do talk therapy better. Kids that came in angry and agitated, the aromatherapy would just calm them down, and we could talk through therapy better. I mean, it was things like that. I had kids come in with withdrawals on drugs, and again, it would just calm them down and the jitters, and we were able to do safety plans and talk better. So that's what really got me going. All right, I need to look at what is it about the aromatherapy that's actually triggering something in the brain that allows them to process emotions versus emotions just staying stuck. So that's what got me interested, is just seeing how my kiddos responded.
Wow, that's so interesting. And do you find in aromatherapy, I know being a mom myself, there's an oil for like we have an aloe oil and we have a tummy ache oil and we have there's an oil for everything. How did you start to decipher which ones elevated which moods or which ones affected? Did it seem to be specific to whether it was male, female, their age? What did you find?
Good question. So, well, a lot of it just comes down to science. A lot of people think, oh, aromatherapy is just a placebo effect. You just believe that it works, and it does. And it's actually not true. There's an actual science to these plants, which is why when you even eat plants, that they, bring different health and benefits to your gut, to your brain. But aromatherapy, particularly, I looked into the research. So I did my dissertation on PTSD and aromatherapy. So I really took it to that next level of, oh, well, this seems to work. I went, why? I love brain science. So I to the essential oil research that's been done for, lots of years. And I just compared it to what's going on to the brain. When we have someone with depression, for example, just a general note, it's serotonin that's low or norepinephrine. That's why we give them either a serotonin manipulator, we call it an SSRI, or norepinephrine manipulates norepinephrine in your brain, so you feel happier, right? It prolongs the effects of either serotonin or norepinephrine. And so when we look into oils, they have similar actions. And so we look at citruses, for example, and they actually help boost serotonin and norepinephrine just naturally in your brain. Doesn't manipulate it, just helps your body do what it needs to do. And so when I had kiddos that were depressed, whether male or female, usually the citruses. That's a general rule, the citruses. And in fact, an easy way, if you guys like me to explain, I have what I call plant personality. And I even have a plant personality quiz you can take that's really fun to see which plants you're more like. I'll give you that detail at the end. Yeah. But if you look at plants, like I always tell people, there's a lot of science behind it. And you don't have to, just to get started, you don't have to know all the science. What you can look at is, what do citruses look like in nature? What are they like? What are their colors?
Round and vibrant, right?
Yeah, bright, vibrant, right? And bright in color, round, bubbly. And that's what they do emotionally. They help you feel bright and vibrant and a little more bubbly. Yeah.
Isn't that
And then,
interesting?
isn't that cool? And
Like
if you look at trees,
yeah, they're made just for us, right? Like to
yeah.
do the thing that they look like they do.
Yeah, exactly. They absorb a lot of sun and just makes you feel like a little bit more sunny. And then if you look at trees, for example, like trees are just tall and rooted and grounded. And so what does that do emotionally, you think?
Just grounds you and roots you and helps you feel like you can take it on, right?
Yep, exactly. Very stabilizing.
Oh,
And
great word.
grounded and rooted, those words you said were perfect. And so interesting, I'm not except like literally when I study white fir, Douglas fir, all these other tree oils, frankincense, they are really grounding. And so the tree oils have been great to use with kids with special needs like autism or anywhere on the spectrum, sometimes with ADHD, because it helps to ground the brain from being a little unstable.
Interesting. That's great.
Yeah. And then there's some more, and I can give you, let's look at flowers just to kind of give you guys some ideas. What are flowers in nature? What are their colors usually?
Oh, well, besides white, I mean, but even the white ones are bright, vibrant, attractive.
They're really gentle. They're kind of soft too. The petals are
Oh,
soft.
yes. I was just thinking of the colors, but yeah, the petals are soft
Yeah.
and like they welcome you
Mhm.
in.
Yeah, totally. That's what's interesting with flowers like rose, for example. It's a very soothing. So, and they're very calming. They're very comforting. So when you need an essential oil, like lavender, for example, is an herb, but it's the little flowers on that herb that has this calming effect. And so when you have kids that are tantruming, you can put a lavender, have them smell it, put it on, and it just helps to calm that central nervous system. So flowers in general are very calming.
Yeah.
So there's just a little bit. I'll give you one more, and then we can go on. But
Okay.
spices. What are spices in nature, or when we eat a spice? What is it?
Oh gosh. I don't know. I always think of spices are zesty, but maybe because I
Mhm.
use like extra things, they're kind of a perk, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're spicy, right? They're fiery and zesty. I like how you said zesty. And so spices are going to get you motivated, more blood moving, and they're just going to be a little bit more passion. So if you're feeling kind of like blah, a spice is going to spice you up. So that's how I train people in those four categories, just as a general easy start.
Wow, that's going to be super helpful to our parents because even I'm making notes. I'm like, okay, which one of my kids needs the citrus? Who needs the ADHD? That's so great to just bring it down so simply into trees, flowers, spices, citrus. I mean, that's amazing. So, are those your four general categories?
Four general categories. Yeah, there are a lot more, of course, essential oils. We've got a lot of herbs that also are they're grounding, but they're not like your rooted trees grounding. They're just a little bit more on the soothing type side. Like peppermint, for example, is a really good herb. I really like that one. It helps with focus,
Mhm.
and it also helps to bring blood to the air. So I use peppermint for a kid with ADHD, for example. I would use a tree oil to ground and calm their brain, right? But I would use peppermint for a focus.
Oh, and like combination together.
Mhm. Yep.
Interesting. And now, how are essential oils different from candles? Because I think, that whole candle wave came. And then I feel like, I mean, I know essential oils have been around forever, but I do feel like candles kind of hit a high. And everyone's like, oh, candles because of the smell. And some people think that aromatherapy is also just a smell. Do you ever get do you have to ever speak to someone about the difference between just like your perfume, your candle, and essential oils and how they affect
Yeah, that's a
you?
totally good question. I love that. So we have incense and candles and perfume, and we've got Clorox, we got scents, Clorox type cleaners. So lots of scents interact. So let's talk about when you inhale any scent, it travels directly to your brain through neural olfactory pathways and into the limbic system. And right there in the system, you have your amygdala. And the amygdala is the part of your brain that really manages emotions. It also communicates your limbic system to other parts of your brain, like your frontal lobe. And so any scent you inhale is going to go through that. That's helpful. But in fact, that's why sometimes if people smell cleaners that are toxic, they'll get a little bit of a headache. So let's look at aromatherapy compared to candles and incense. Now, aromatherapy, what it is these little tiny vibrant molecules on top of plants, inside of seeds, bark, stem, and they are volatile, meaning that like it can float into the air. And so when you inhale them, they go directly into the brain and penetrate and cause medicinal or remedy type actions. But if you burn aromatherapy, if you burn it, that heat actually destroys the healing properties. So a candle that has a nice scent to it, you're going to get the scent, you're going to inhale it, but it's not going to have the medicinal properties. Incense is going to burn. It's not going to, it's just like when you cook a food, you sometimes you destroy those properties. So the same type of thing. So aromatherapy being, pure and natural with no dilution, no toxins added, and no heat added. We do a cold diffuser with water and just a cold diffuser, then you still get those healing properties. So that's the main difference.
Interesting. That is so interesting. And I've been using oils forever, but I've never, and that sounds so simple and makes total sense. No heat added equals, more benefits, and that it actually can help you. That's amazing. And now when you reference that part of your brain that the smell goes through and it immediately affects your brain, is that the same way in like a smell can trigger even a memory? Is that the same part of your
Yes.
brain that it's affecting?
Yeah, so amygdala has your emotional memory. So if you inhale like fresh baked bread and you think all of a sudden 5 years old again at your grandma's house, that is emotional memory, which is also in there. And so it's been a really helpful one I use with trauma, with PTSD. So we try to pair a scent, something new, and talk about a situation, but pairing a new scent to it so that they can stay in the present and unpair any unnatural, or not unnatural, but traumatized like sense with it. So scents can be very powerful for repairing.
Wow, that's interesting. So using it to like remap memories or re-experience in a more positive way.
Mhm. And stay grounded in the present, because a lot of times with trauma, what happens if there's a scent, it'll take them back. And so we have people with trauma keep a scent that anchors them in the present. We call it an anchor. So that could be anything. And I usually tell them to do an oil that you really love. I have this package called the Emotional Aromatherapy package, and it has got 6 different oils in it that has names to them. So one of them's passion, for example, motivate, console. And so I just say, keep one of these, know that that's you in the present. So if you ever have a smell get triggered, that you smell this and it brings you back, versus being back into that traumatic cycle, which the brain starts with the hippocampus and starts releasing cortisol and start going into fight or flight mode. So it's a good way to anchor. And also it's like we call it a pattern interrupter.
Interesting. Now, do you have a space in which our listeners or myself can find those blends that you've created?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good question. So I have on my website, I think an Instagram might be easier too.
Oh, great.
So
Sure.
yeah, because on Instagram I have it on tap bio, and my Instagram is at Dr. Danielle Saidi, which is DR as in doctor, and then Danielle, Danielle, and then Saidi is PSYD.
Ah,
So that's, and on there, on my TAP bio, you will find the plant personality quiz that you can take, which is always fun. And then you'll also find on there a link to, purchase essential oils, to learn essential oils. And so that's probably the best little spot to start, place to start. The other thing I would say is on my website, it's called brainessentials.com.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, because I know if I'm wondering, I'm like, ooh, she said these are her blends. This is what she gets. I know that others are gonna be so interested in the same way. Now, where would you recommend a parent or a spouse starting? I mean, even for yourself, because I know it has to start with you. So for me, I know I choose comforting smells in the morning, like, okay, this is how I need to feel today. Like you're saying, either, and I may not even know the science behind it, but maybe I choose a specific scent based on what I know I need to accomplish. And maybe it's just intuitive at this point, but where do we really start in helping guide these things for our family to implement gently within our family?
Yeah, that's a good question. So on my website, I'm gonna give you a little bit here on brainessentials.com. I have a package that I put together of 7 essential oils that I recommend everyone get started with for emotional therapy purposes, because it has kind of covers all the bases, and there's more you can expand to later, as well as the solution kit, I call it, on the website. It has a training course that comes along with it. So when you purchase the essential oil package, you get also a training course that has tons of information, probably more than maybe you want, but then some of it will be exactly what you want. So I cover the categories of anxious emotions, focus and attention, memory and learning, mood boost, and stress and trauma. And so that it covers all of those bases with those 7 oils. And it will allow you to kind of set up a routine. Now, what happens when someone gets started with the package, you also get the course for free, but you also get a consult with me. And so what I do is I tend to ask the families and say, okay, well, in the mornings, what's the mood, of the child that you are really wanting to get some help for? And if they say, oh, they wake up really moody, then I'm going to help you set up a regimen to start your morning off with something from the mood boost kit. And then we look at, okay, midday, what does the behavior seem like? And then we say, this is the oil you're going to implement. And we kind of look at it in 4 categories during the day. So morning, midday, afternoon, and evening. And we set up a regimen for you to know what to apply in those times.
So interesting. Now, do you ever get asked, because this is my first question, we have a lot of people in our home. So like I said, 4 of our own children, 2 extra babies, my spouse, Jim, and I both. How do you differentiate and know, like, what oil am I going to use today? Because if I'm diffusing for one person, can it negatively affect another person? I just over worry about that. Or does each person need to have, does anyone ever ask you, how do you navigate all the different personalities in a space with smell?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the good thing about essential oils is they really have side benefits versus negative effects. So if you're deciding, okay, in the morning, we're going to diffuse something like an orange oil. So I like this one called Citrus Bliss, and that's one of my emotional aromatherapy blends. And this Citrus Bliss has all of the citrus in it. So we're just going to diffuse that in the morning for all of our family and kids. It's a mood boosting, it's brightening, it helps us start our day, right? That's really what I recommend, is a citrus. Now, one thing that you can do is let's say one of your children has a more specific time with being grounded, a difficult time being grounded. So I have a blend in here called Balance. It's called a grounding blend. So this Balance is a group of tree oils. And so what you could do is have that out for that child, and you can put it on the bottom of their feet in the morning. So they get the citrus in the diffuser, and then they have the bottom of their feet just absorbs into all of the bloodstream that way. And they have that. So specifically, you're getting a mood boost and a grounding effect.
Isn't that amazing? Wow, what a beautiful way to explain that. Thank you. It's really exciting to think, like, okay, so I could support each individual in different ways, which is really, we, with our mission, really focus so much on differentiating between the children and really separating the parts and really strengthening the whole. So paying close and mindful attention to just your spouse and just yourself and just a one-on-one child time and seeing everyone as their own person. And so this is just another way to implement support to each person's needs. I really like.
Yeah, and I can tell you a little story. So my cousin adopted some children, and they're just the sweetest little things. Well, one of the children, little girl, she had a hard time. She would have these tantrums. She was like 5 years old, I think, at the time, maybe 4. And she would have these tantrums where she would just disassociate. So once she would start tantruming, and then it would just go to where she would disassociate, and it was really hard to get her back to the present. So this had gone on for years. And so I helped my cousin get started with the essential oils. And shortly after she got her little kit of essential oils, she texted me and she says, "Oh my gosh, she's starting to go into her tantrum. What can I use? What oil?" And I said, "Grab the lavender." So I said, and put it on the back of her neck. So this is the occipital point. It goes right into the brain. So she did a drop of lavender in her hand, and she put it on the back of the occipital point on her child. And then my cousin texted me about 3 to 5 minutes later. I can't remember exactly. And she said, "Oh my gosh, is this for real?" And I thought, uh-oh, what happened? And I said, "Why? What happened?" She goes, "She's just laying here calmly now."
Oh.
So it was amazing. And what a benefit for my cousin who, I mean, how difficult it is when they go into such a tantrum, they disassociate, but it stopped from getting to that far of a tantrum to where it kept her grounded. It kept her in the present, and she just lay there just calmly and was able to come back to present and deal with the situation. So that's how powerful just immediate effects they can do when you can get them into the brain.
Oh, that's an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am going to tell you a caseworker's here to meet with us for the investigation.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I had a feeling that would be the worst timing. I was going to ask you, we were on our last question, so I'm going to edit this part out, but I just wanted to be honest with you. You saw me panic for a moment, like the door's knocking, and then I got like a note, like caseworkers here. So I'm having just a moment of being like, okay,
Yeah.
it's always hard for me, even though
Yeah, no worries.
but I do.
Do you want to wrap up with the short question and wrap up, or what would be better?
If that's okay. Really did only have our final question that I wanted to ask you, and that's our 75-year-old self. So I so appreciate all the wisdom that you've imparted. My mind is blown as far as your 4 categories of the essential oils, and the fact that you have partnered 2 things that I'm so interested in, between aromatherapy, supporting our children, supporting ourselves and our spouses, our homes, everything with aromatherapy, and the way in which it supports our mental health. Like, it's amazing. So thank you so much for being here. I'm really curious, your 75-year-old self, what would Danielle at 75, much older, probably have figured so many amazing paths and incredible things out with aromatherapy and how it can support even further? What would she tell you today, either what a great job you've done in a certain area, or maybe relax you a bit on things that you've been worrying about? What wisdom would she impart?
Oh, that's a good question. And, I say thank you again for having me on, and it's been great to connect with you and your audience. That's so amazing. I would say the main word that comes to my mind is just love. Like, love myself, love the journey, love others. So you never go wrong when that's your solution. And sometimes we get like, oh, I'm offended, or, oh, I'm not doing enough, and all of these other things. The one solution is just love. So I see my 75-year-old self just being patient and smiling and just saying, yeah, just love the journey. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Will you tell us again your Instagram and your website where we can find you and learn more about
Yeah.
fitness?
Absolutely. And I would love for you guys just to take the plant personality test. It's really fun.
I'm excited. I'm so
And
excited.
you learn a little bit more about yourself and about the oils. So my Instagram is at Dr. Danielle Psyd, and that's PSYD. And my website is brainessentials.com. And feel free to reach out. I've on my TAP bio on my Instagram, you can come to an essential oil class. And there's a lot of resources on that website on Instagram, the TAP bio. So at Dr. Danielle Psyd. Thank you so much. You guys are doing amazing. You're doing amazing work. I'm so grateful for, being able to be on and be connected with you. Thank you.
So much.